So we'll be solving two types of salt tables, the one which would consist of colorless solution and one which would consist of colored solution. Why will we be doing this? We'll be doing this so that you know that what to write in the conclusion if there is a colorless solution and what to write in the observation if the conclusion if there is a colored solution. So we'll start with the first part, A part. The first part says V is dissolved in water and the solution is divided into three parts, B, C and D. They say that the colorless solution is obtained. If they say that the colorless solution is obtained, it means that V is not a compound of transition metal. Why? Because transition metals are always colored compounds. So this is clear that the conclusion will be that V is not a compound of colorless metal, transitions metal. Now sometimes they trick you by giving tests and then they ask you observations and conclusions. Sometimes they give you conclusions and tests and then they ask you to write the observations. It's totally up to them of how they will gonna trick you. The word thing is that you have to learn all the tables by heart properly so that they do not confuse you and you do not lose your marks. Okay, so if you have to write about this, they say that V may contain aluminium or zinc ions. Whenever I said whenever there is may, it means that you have to write the first test of this aqueous sodium hydroxide. If you have seen the table, so they would suggest you, they would write you have to write to the first part because this is the first initial test. So the first part, sodium hydroxide was added until a change was seen. When you only have to write the color, was seen. Sorry for my writing. When they say it may contains, it means that you only have to write that NaOH was added and you have to state the color. Now you know, as it says it's a colorless compound, it means the precipitate will be white. Aluminium consists of white precipitate, calcium consists of white precipitate, and zinc ions also consist of white precipitate. So it's obvious that the observation would say that the white precipitate. Now they say we may contain calcium ions. Obviously they are saying this because of now they have performed the second part, which means that an excess of sodium hydroxide was added to the mixture. It says we may contain calcium ions. When they say we may contain calcium ions, you may write this second observation of sodium hydroxide, that the white precipitate and white precipitate may be insoluble in excess. So you will write insoluble in excess because if you would have learned the table, so you know that in calcium, when calcium is added to sodium hydroxide, it's white precipitate. Then in excess sodium hydroxide, it gives insoluble in excess. So we'll write in the second part that it is insoluble in excess. Now to the part C, they says, look, now here they have given us the test and conclusion and they're asking us for the observations. To the second part, aqueous ammonia is added until a change was seen. We know that whenever an aqueous ammonia is added, so the color, they say the presence of calcium ions in V is confirmed. Now they say that the presence of calcium ion is confirmed. When they say that the presence of calcium ion is confirmed, that now you have to write the observations that were being seen after adding a ammonia, which means that if you have learned the table, so they have said that there was no precipitate. This part up till here was about cations. For this part you have to learn the table of cations. Now we come on the part of anions. They say we contain nitrate ions. When they have given us the conclusion, they ask us to write the test and the observation. What would be the test? You write add aluminium powder. If you would have learned the test, so you would have known add aluminium powder and sodium hydroxide. Do not forget to write that you have to heat it or else you lose a mark. This is really important. You have to write it, and you cannot write that first add sodium hydroxide and then add aluminium powder. The sequence matters. You have to write that add aluminium powder and then add sodium hydroxide and heat it afterwards. So obviously we know whenever nitrate ions are in the conclusion or whenever nitrate ions are seen, so it means that ammonia gas was given off. And whenever ammonia gas is given off, you know that it turns red litmus paper blue. Now we'll be solving, I hope this is clear. Now we'll be solving a sample which consists of colored solution.